Los Angeles, a Game 6 becomes a Game 7, and a baseball season teeters over into November, and when those lights go out an old ballpark up on a hill seems to shiver and sigh. After all that's come before it, and before the little bit that still remains, the subtleties of the games drift away, lost in the months past and the one last game ahead, except this is different, but for I wave of Cody Bellinger's mitt. And maybe that's why they're here to begin with, and maybe that's what will separate the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Houston Astros, because, so far, between the two, there's no light evident. Only ballgames, played to exhaustion, played to Carlos Correa bounding with glee, or Joc Pederson practically doing jumping jacks down the third baseline, played to Justin Verlander on the black at 97, to Kenley Jansen whipping one last chin-high cutter, to 3 games apiece, and finally back to a 22-year-old man deft enough and calm enough to make it so. Amid 4 more strikeouts from a feast or famine swing, in the 7th inning of a game that until then had mostly played itself around him, Bellinger held his mitt steady and his heart to a healthy patter and made the play that just flat out had to be made. Yes, Rich Hill had gotten them started, and the bullpen composed itself again, and then the Dodgers sorted out Verlander, because it seemed for a very long time he wasn't giving the ball back until he was done. They were. There are no pitch counts on Halloween night. The Dodgers beat the Astros 3-1 because of all the stuff that mattered. For the 2 runs against Verlander in the 6th inning, Austin Barnes barreling a fastball, Chase Utley taking an overthrown slider on his foot, yeah, we got ice, Charlie Culberson deadpanned. Chris Taylor getting just enough of a 1-2 fastball, Corey Seager lifting a fly ball. Then, an inning later, for Pederson firing an outside fastball into the left field bleachers, his opposite field, and spiraling around the bases like a tire flung from its axle on the freeway. Then, for the 13 outs gathered by their relievers, the last 6, in order, from Jansen, 1 Astro at a time, until what was left was Game 7. The Dodgers, like the Astros, had been very good for the better part of 7 months at winning today, just today, and adding those up at the end. And now, like the Astros, have only one today remaining. And so, instead of counting up the home runs and the ERAs and all those wins, instead of charting the innings and adding up all the columns to somehow make sense of it all, what really echoes is a ground ball off Jose Altuve's bat in the 7th inning, and what came of that. Because without that which happened next, the conversation about this particular today could be very different, to the extent the Astros could be halfway home by now, and the Dodgers could be clean out of today's. The Los Angeles Dodgers celebrate after their win against the Houston Astros in Game 6 of baseball's World Series Tuesday, October 31, 2017, in Los Angeles. The Dodgers won 3-1 to tie the series at 3-3. AP. More. Here's what happened. The Dodgers scored twice in the 6th inning to overtake the home run George Springer had hit in the 3rd inning. They'd wrestled by then with going on 90 of Verlander's pitches, and they'd all been an unreasonable effort, and still they'd gotten 2 players across 360 feet of dirt, and oddly enough Verlander was going to have pitched 12 innings of this World Series, and allowed 5 hits and struck out 14 batters, and have walked off the field twice behind on the scoreboard. The Dodgers had their lead, you may even call it an unlikely lead, 2-1. They had 9 outs to get. They had what appeared to be a vulnerable bullpen to get them. So vulnerable, even Clayton Kershaw stood out there with them, never really getting warm, but in a position to get warm if the situation arose. I threw against the wall probably 700 times tonight, he said. And asked how that went, he smiled and said, good.